Hi, I'm Dr. Bridget Bongard, Medical Director of the Maui Cancer Wellness Retreats, and this is one of a series of videos for you to improve your health, to help you create a better life that's just more abundant with energy and all the things you want to do. So this video is kind of interesting. It's called Chrononutrition, and you're going like, huh? Chrononutrition, what the heck's that? Chrono means time, and of course nutrition. So it turns out that it's really important for our best health to eat in a specific time frame. Not all day long, not like light eating from daylight to the end of the day. It's really more important to look at the literature that we know focuses on the time that we eat in relation to how it turns on inflammation or turns it off. So we're going to talk about there's a time to eat and a time to exercise. So to everything there's a season and a time for every purpose under heaven, and that's from Ecclesiastes 3:1, and actually that's quite true. There is a time, there is a season, there is a cycle that we all follow in our bodies. So if you look at this next slide here, it's a slide on actually what happens in the circadian rhythm of the body. So you'll see that when you wake up in the morning at 6 a.m., your cortisol levels are high. They're getting you ready to go through the day. Your insulin secretion starts turning on with your first meal around 8ish. You have a peak in alertness at 10 a.m. You have your greatest cardiovascular and skeletal muscle strength at 5 p.m. You have a peak in your lipid levels at 6, peak in your body temperature at 7, peak at your white blood cells at 8, and then your melatonin secretion, which then works with your immune system, turns on around 9ish, and you get your deepest sleep somewhere around 2 a.m., which is where you actually restore and repair your body. So the other thing that's fascinating about the circadian rhythm that has to do with what we eat and when we eat is that in the morning, as you'll see in this slide, there's a hormone that's released by the body called ghrelin. And ghrelin is actually produced in the gut. Why? Because it's our hunger hormone. So when we get up in the morning, we're hungry. After an hour or so, the gut turns on, there you go, and then the ghrelin gradually falls during the day, and there's a hormone that comes from the fat cells that's called leptin that says, enough, you've had enough to eat, no more. Now, those are the natural cycles of the body, but we can actually override them, and we do. Because if you look at the next slide, the classic eating habits are to eat breakfast, and then maybe lunch, and then also supper. So you're getting calories all during the day from the moment you wake up to near bedtime. Well, is that really the best thing for you? Well, it turns out that that was considered to be the best, but then people started saying, well, wait a minute, if I pile on a lot of calories at breakfast, then my insulin levels go high. If I pile on a lot of more calories at lunchtime, my insulin levels go high, and then I pile on a lot of calories, even more calories at dinner, and all, of course, that's when you have your dessert, your alcoholic beverages, and such like that. So even the calories are hugely increased, and your insulin levels are hugely increased, which turns on inflammation. How about that? And then when those insulin levels drop between meals, you become hungry again because your blood sugar drops. So people said, all right, we have this figured out. We'll do 6 small meals a day. So yes, you don't get the high insulin spikes, but you're getting this caloric load the entire time. So it turns out that an average American diet, when you look at this graph here, you'll see that you're eating about 2,500 calories a day. And we're only burning probably 400 to 800. So this is why we have such a rate of obesity in this country. Now you would say, okay, what's the problem with obesity? Well, the problem is that when you get fat around the midsection, that's metabolically active fat, and that actually causes inflammation in the body. So the inflammation in the body then, consistent with the genes that you have, well, it can manifest into arthritis, it can manifest into a cancer, it can manifest into diabetes or heart disease or whatever you've inherited. So it's critical that we really pay attention to when we eat and how much we eat, and to lower the inflammation in the body and decrease the amount of fat cells. Leptin, as we heard earlier, really does try and turn off the appetite. But if we continue to eat too much and we gain too much weight, leptin is made in the fat cells, and the fat cells then quit making the leptin, so then we even become more hungry because the ghrelin is unopposed. We become more hungry, and then we get bigger, and then we get more inflamed, and the cycle goes on and on. So how do we interrupt this? Well, there's two camps. One is caloric restriction versus intermittent fasting, as you see in this slide. So we're going to talk about intermittent fasting first. And this is an updated article from the New England Journal of Medicine in December of 2019, so it's very, very relevant. So it turns out that there's a lot of different ways that you can fast. One can either eat normally, but try and eat less than 2,000 calories a day for 5 days in a row, and then on day 6 and day 7 you eat only 500 calories, and that allows the body to sort of reset itself. Well, a lot of people don't like that feeling of being restricted for those 2 days to such a low calorie intake, so there's another cycle where you basically eat only for 8 hours a day, and then the other 16 you don't eat. Now, when is that the best? Is it from 6 in the morning to 2 in the afternoon? Is it from 8 to 4, etc., etc.? But the key is just that you confine your calories to this small window of time, and then you don't take in calories the rest of the day, which then allows the body to recalibrate. And it also is interesting, as you'll see in this next slide, that when you have short-term starvation, i.e. fasting, that the body then turns on protective mechanisms and lowers tumor growth and increases tumor cell death. So that really works in your favor. And the same happens when you fast and have chemotherapy. You have much better outcomes in decreased tumor growth. So this is an important thing that you need to really consider if you do have cancer, is limiting the amount of time that you eat during the day so that the body can repair itself. Also too, getting sleep is critical, because apparently if you don't snooze your full 8 hours, then you actually have higher ghrelin levels that make you hungrier, and you become more obese and more inflamed. So, and your body mass index increases. So there we go on that down the rabbit hole. So you need to get 8 hours of sleep. So let's look at caloric restriction. Now, caloric restriction also causes decreased cancer risk, decreased cancer progression, as we see in this slide. But too much caloric restriction can actually be harmful. So people who wind up, as you see in this next slide, when you have BMI, which is your which is your body mass index, if you have not enough fat, if your BMI goes below 20, you actually have a higher risk for disease. So you want to stay in the normal BMI between somewhere between 25, something like that. That's your best function for your body. Let's talk about exercise. And I really hate the word exercise because everybody feels that they've already done enough work. They don't want to exhaust themselves anymore. But really, let's think about movement, moving the body. And when we move the body, we actually move the circulation. And the circulation then moves the cellular byproducts, and your lungs then get more oxygen, and you drink more water, and you flush out all these cellular waste material. So actually getting exercise / movement is incredibly important, and there's plenty of literature that looks at people who actually exercise 30 minutes a day, and that can even be broken up, by the way, into 15-minute increments. But as long as you're doing some pretty good movement, you could do stairs, you could do anything aerobic like that, you can swim, you can play tennis, you can stretch. All of those things actually decrease the body fat and don't impair your lean body mass, i.e. your muscles. So if you do resistance training, which you see of this person holding on to that strap, or you see the people with weights and such, that doesn't really affect your body composition, but it will increase your skeletal muscle, which will then take more insulin out of your circulation. So it's helpful, but we really recommend, like showing in the next couple slides here, that you really look at aerobic exercise. So any kind of movement, dance, swimming, cycling, walking and chatting with a friend, all of it is good. So try and build this in on a daily basis. So the question is, when is the time to exercise? Well, if you can exercise early in the morning, it actually lowers those ghrelin levels that make you hungry. So that's probably the best time to exercise. And if you want to exercise before a meal, it will also help you eat less, as we all know, because you'll drink your water and you'll feel more satiated, and then you'll be able to lose weight and you'll feel better. So those are some things that you can look at to help yourself, and think about when you eat, what you eat, how you eat, because everything we put in goes into our body. So when you eat a piece of bread, you don't get bread out the other end. No, the body breaks it down and utilizes it for your growth and development, for your health and your wellness. So be very aware of what you do put in, and when you put it in, and how you put it in. And now you've got some great information to know that if you package the time that you're eating, then you can give your body a break and have better metabolism, you can have better energy, and it can really impact your cancer well-being. So thank you very much for listening to this video. And if you have any questions, you can go to info@MauiCancerWellnessRetreats.com, or go to our website at www.MauiCancerWellnessRetreats.org. Thank you.